Thank you for staying with us on another beautiful day here in Hyrule. This is another race in the Link to the Past Randomizer 2019 Fall Tournament here on Speed Gaming. We have a race now between Kappa and rdwalshv or rdwalshv, and this is a game 3, ladies and gentlemen. We've had two very close races. We're expecting a fantastic finish to this series. Hey everyone, Cyclone here, joined by the legendary Jet82. How you doing, Jet?
Hey, pretty good. This is going to be an exciting match for our racers here. The one-on-one. One win each. Whoever wins gets to move forward, so pretty exciting.
Indeed. It's going to be a fantastic series here. We actually have some information from the previous races here. Looking at the previous two races, on the 31st, we had about a 4-minute or a 6-minute difference. Already Walsh played in game number 1. Second game was about a 4-minute difference, with Plasma Kappa winning game number 2. Game number 2 was an open seed. There were no settings changed. RD Walsh changed the settings in game 3 tonight, and that is going to be the assured sword that you see the runners already holding before they even hit start.
So real quick, I do like their title names, Send Help and Hen Selp. Definitely not planned.
Yeah, definitely not planned. I'm sure they did not discuss this beforehand.
So swords. I cannot say that, but it just means that the default vanilla locations of the swords are exactly where you're going to get your progressive swords, no less. So we start with Uncle. We'll give them a sword, and then the next one, there's one at Ped, so we already know what's at Pedestal. But we also have one at Pyramid Fairy, and we have one at the Dwarf. So this is going to be interesting because you can easily get Master Sword, but you're sort of going to have to go out of your way if you want to pick up Tempered.
I don't think that's how it works.
It's not? I thought it was all the... Oh!
No.
Get wrecked to me. You can see how often I do those. Okay, well, I've been correct.
I figured you were joking anyway. I was going to explain anyway because I figured you were joking.
Yeah, I was thinking vanilla swords. Oh, it feels so bad. I should know better. Anyway, so here goes our runners, and we already have a divergence with Kappa heading to the northern part of the map, and Walsh heading into the to go visit Uncle, see what's there. A couple items here.
Now, we did already get a map check from both runners, and we actually have both red crystals in the light world. This is a very, very interesting situation, having both red crystals in the light world, because you don't need a lot to get into those dungeons. There's a good chance Pyramid Fairy could be involved if we can get quick access and completion of Desert, and if we can find the map bow quickly for Eastern Palace.
And the first tree pull, you only have to kill one enemy, and it's 4 bombs, which is a really nice pull.
And I misstated. I meant Tower of Hera for the mirror. My apologies. Eastern Palace is a regular crystal.
All right, so we got Blue Cane. We, of course, start with the sword, which is a swords.
Yeah, Uncle still gives you something useless most of the time since you already have the sword when you start out. So a little bit different than the normal assured sword that Uncle gives you. Lost Woods has a piece of heart. We're going to be dropping in the drop down just a second. And dropping in the drop down on Kappa's side, we are going to find...
That's useful. And this is interesting. Walsh is going to clear out the front of Escape with that sword. I mean, might as well. You get a weapon. Really quick check. Couple items here.
I always think it's a good play to go to the castle as soon as you possibly can, because it is a really out-of-the-way location. And since they are... Oh, that's the King of Samaria. So since it is a really out-of-the-way location, getting these checks now means that you don't have to come back and do them later. The only reason you have to come back is if you have to defeat Aghanim, and the chance of that is, what, a 10-15% chance?
Yeah, okay. All right, so we do have standard checks from Kappa here. More than likely, RD Wash will be heading over here after they're done over in the front of Escape. Now, front of Escape itself is, what, a total of 6 items, I believe, depending on if you go to the back of Escape or not. And it really depends on if you find a small key.
Yes, if that small key is locked in the back of Escape, you know those are locked by the Power Glove. So we will find that out if R.D. Walsh decides to head to the Dark Cross, which runners will of this caliber will do, no problem. It's just a matter of if he decides to do that. I suspect since he's doing the castle right away, he probably will. By the way, he did find a Master Sword. That was located in the second chest check that he was able to make here. And there's our Fire Rod located in the well. So we are getting some good items already.
Yeah, both the runners finding something useful. I mean, we did have the Red Cane and another sword over in the front of escape. We have Lantern and Fire Rod and another sword over in the well. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of items.
Now, I want to go back to the sword discussion here and going into the real sword discussion here now, obviously. There are still 4 swords in the pool, and the logic will still look at those swords when it tries to determine how to do the seed. So because they started with the assured sword, that means nothing. And Kappa accidentally falls into the well a second time. Or no, he's farming rupees. I thought it was an accident. He's farming rupees for the bottle vendor. He's going to get the bottle vendor item, just the 10 rupees. So the swords, the 4 swords are still in the pool. The runners will only ever see 3 of them. The 4th sword will turn into a green rupee with the number 20 to show that's where the 4th sword would have been. It's still like a big 20, but it's the green version. So the logic will still look for those 2 swords and the lamp, which we now know exist this early in the seed. Aghanim is already on the table.
Yeah, that's... And given that they have not found a glove or hammer, that could mean that's their progression into Darkworld. They do have a Moon Pearl. Or at least rdwalshv will when he gets over to the Lost Woods. But, man, this could be an Aghanim required seed here.
Yeah, they have everything they need to go straight to Palace of Darkness if they want to. They could literally do that right now if they wanted to.
All right, let's see what's over in... Oh, a bow. Over in the mini Moldorm cave here.
This is an interesting mini Moldorm cave. A mushroom, a bow, and blue mail.
It's not bad.
Now, the bow means that they'll be able to clear Eastern Palace, especially with that lamp, because that means it's all fully in logic. So we're going to see Eastern Palace cleared before Aghanim ever comes up on the table.
And that's actually interesting. The seed expects you to go over to Kakariko to get your lantern before even going to Eastern. rdwalshv might just go right to Eastern in the dark.
He very well might. That is possible. At least he'll close the logical break in a hurry.
True.
And rdwalshv getting his Cane of Burna. Or that was Kappa, rather, getting his Cane of Burna.
All right, slightly out of the way check. I try cave here, see if anything's good. We have a lot of good items so far. It's just a heart container. That is the first heart container.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if we've seen any heart pieces. I may have seen 1 heart piece.
I think we've seen a couple, but not enough.
Yeah, not enough for a heart.
All right, rdwalshv heading over to Eastern, the Eastern play.
He will be doing it in the dark, but he does have the bow.
Total of 6 items, 3 behind Sahashala, and then 3 more in Eastern itself. Assuming we see a full clear.
So he's going to check Sahasrah's closet right now, and that's going to be the first thing he checks. And after he checks that, he'll be going straight over to Eastern Palace. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't at this point.
I will say we're starting to run out of locations here in the early game. It's becoming more and more likely that Ag is required to go into Dark World.
Yeah, we can't even get to Death Mountain by a sequence break yet. We don't have a glove. We don't have... Well, we don't have the glove, and we don't have a flute, is what I'm trying to get at there. Glove or flute would be needed to get us to Death Mountain at this point. Logically, with the lamp, a glove would make it in logic.
Now, the lantern did unlock the sewer chest in the escape.
Yes.
That could be a small key leading them to the back, so there might be some more items there, but otherwise... we're just running out. Aside from Eastern, we have Agina, and that's really it.
Yeah, the runners are not... Runners in general tend to not like to route that in unless they route in with the dam. Some will do that, and I actually like that routing. Then just go back to the start and go back around. But very often, Agina can be left out of the way until a book shows up or until they go over to the Mizumari area with a flute, something like that.
It's a very long walk, so it's really hard to figure out when you should route it in. But we'll see what our runners do today. We are only 7 minutes in, and we have plenty more checks to do. And we already have half the required items probably needing this whole game. Well, maybe a third.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So rdwalshv didn't find anything really worthwhile in the first chest in Eastern Palace. Going to move on to the next chest. So we're going to note again that for those joining us late, the seed did have an assured sword to start. So the runners did not both find the same swords, and they're sitting on Master Sword. They each found one individual sword, and there is actually a tempered sword available for both these runners at this time that we know about. So because those 2 sword upgrades are out there, that also does put Aghanim on the table because we do have our lamp.
We're going to get a fake flipper check from Kappa here. Not enough rubies to purchase from Zora. However, he can do all of the other checks up to Zora.
He's having trouble getting in the water today. This sometimes it can be a little finicky trying to set this up. But he gets it now.
You pretty much have to jump into the water when you're a frame away from the screen transition. That way you just hold the direction of the screen transition. The moment you fall into the water, you'll screen transition before Link is determined to not be able to swim.
That's correct. And the main thing you want to do here is make sure you don't get hit while you're in the water this way, because you're going to soft lock the game. rdwalshv is now moving over to the dark side of Eastern Palace, and Kappa is checking the waterfall cave. Notice he did fake flipper into here. The reason he was able to do that is because of the moon pearl. The moon pearl, for some reason, makes it possible for you to fake flipper into waterfall cave.
It's a well-programmed game. Honestly, I make fun, but I love what they've been able to do with the randomizer because of weird glitches like that. So Kappa did take a look at the Zora Ledge item, isn't able to get it because there is a way to set up a fake flipper to go get it, but I mean, I think you could do it with bombs and the bow. I believe you can do an ancilla to check it, but either way.
Either way, it was just a batch of bombs anyway, so
Yeah.
he's not going to want it. I think that was what was on the island, that or money. I didn't quite get a good look at it.
We haven't really seen anything good in Eastern yet either, so... Oh,
No.
there's
Yeah, that map is really good.
that. Find your way.
Now you know where to go find the boss.
So for those of you just joining us, this is a tie 1 win for each of our runners. Whoever wins this match will get to move forward in this round of 64. So this is a big deal. This is pretty exciting. And it's actually hard for me to even say who's in the lead because they both went completely different directions.
To be honest,
Kappa will be going over to Eastern now as well.
To be completely fair, it's going to be hard to say who's in the lead until they're in go mode. It's not until they're in go mode that I like to really call who's in the lead, because I have seen races where I would say flat out someone has a significant advantage. Then all of a sudden something happens, boom, 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 and it's like, okay, he's in the lead now. So you really don't know until you have all the items and know where everything is, whether someone is in the lead or not. It's really going to be a guessing game until we get to the point that we have everything.
Wait, a Kappa skipping Sahashala. Interesting.
That is interesting.
And we don't know what Green Pendant is yet, so I'm guessing Kappa's just going to do it after Eastern. He has everything he needs to do this dungeon, so it's not really a big deal. You have Lantern, you have Bow. It's going to be an easy dungeon. Boots are the only thing that might help make it go faster.
Yep, that is indeed the one thing that can really work here. I think he might be planning to avoid Sasral until he has the green pen. That could be a possibility too, but that doesn't make sense to me. I would just check it while I'm in this area. Yeah, I would just check it while I'm here.
Gonna take on Armos. Let's see how quick this is. Very quick with the bow.
Gonna try and set up the quick kill. He's gonna get 2 shots into that lower knight, and now he's just gonna play. Oh, he killed the wrong one in turn. He messed up the timing on the Armos Knight, so what happened is that the damage that had been made to that last Armos Knight that was alive got restored. He was restored to full health. He had to put a fresh 3 arrows into that knight, so it cost him an extra arrow or 2, but not too much time, just a couple seconds. That couple seconds can matter. We have had ties in this tournament.
So overall, Eastern was a bit of a bust. It is a crystal, so not really a big deal that they took the time to complete it. However, just a shield for your efforts.
It's starting to look like an Aghanim seed. I don't think there's many places we can go.
So in terms of what our runners can do, we have Agina. We already mentioned Agina, and I believe the sewer chest. I think that's all that's within logic right now that we haven't seen yet. So you need a glove, either 2 gloves or a glove and hammer. So unless both of those locations lead to those items, it's probably an Iga seed.
Or unless you have something like a book located in one of those locations,
Right.
and that leads you to
That
Desert
locks
Palace,
it.
for example. So there's still possibilities that can open up, but it's really, with the few number of locations we have left, race game being checked by rdwalshv now, there's such a low number of locations left that we can possibly check. It's going to have to be hammer, I don't mean hammer the item, but like just hammer item after item out, and that's the way that's going to end up not being an Aghanim seed. At this point, it's looking very likely to be an Aghanim seed.
And I must have missed this earlier when Kappa checked it, but there is a glove on top of the books in the library.
I missed that too. I saw Kappa check it, but I didn't see what it was.
So given this information, you know where one glove is. So there's only one other glove that can be somewhere else in the world. I'm telling you, Ag is required.
And that also means boots are required.
That's a good thing. I like being able to get some boots in a seed.
I mean, there's already a 50% chance you're going to need him in Desert Palace anyway, but better to know that you need him for the library.
It feels bad having to go all the way to desert, taking a look, and finding out, oh, boots are required to even beat this dungeon. Whereas you know right away, because of the library check, you're going to get boots at some point in this seed, especially for a glove, which is a critical item. I don't think there was anything at the... Did we see the lumberjack? Yeah.
I didn't. Someone checked. I didn't. I don't remember what was actually there, but someone did check it. Maybe chat has a better memory on that.
Yeah, I don't think it was anything important, but I can't recall exactly.
I don't think so either.
All right. rdwalshv heading over to Kakariko, picking up the items that Kappa picked up earlier. Kappa's going to be finishing up Eastern here in a moment, and I believe that's it. So he'll have to decide, is he going to go kill Aga, or is he going to go take a walk to Gina?
Well, rdwalshv is still working on these Kakariko checks. I think it was... I don't remember who it was that actually checked Lumberjack, so we're going to have to see if the other runner does do that. I want to say Kappa checked Lumberjack, but I'm not 100% sure. And Kappa mistimes the 2 mimics here. The Gorillas, as they're actually called, but we call them mimics because... Actually, no, those are the Igors. The mimics are the other ones. So those are the Igors. This time the red Igor. But let's see if he can properly time the... Nope. That's going to be a no.
All right. It's still very fast, even with a miss shot.
Yeah, he missed the one knight. So yeah, both runners had their flaw on the Armmost Knights. I think rdwalshv ended up being just a little bit faster, so he got about a second or two off of that fight. He's heading downstairs from Blind's Hut right now.
So Agina wouldn't necessarily have anything to avoid Aga so much as it would give you something that would unlock more checks. For example, he could have a book, or he could have the flute that would lead you up to Death Mountain, something like that.
Well, even if he gave you, let's just say hypothetically, even if he were to give you the let's say the other glove at this point, that would give you access to Death Mountain, but that's one item. You can't merely get the other item on Spectral Rock. Yeah, you get another one from the old man. So yeah, 2 items total.
All right, so Kappa has finished off Eastern. He has not done the Front of Escape yet, so we will probably see that before we even get to Aghanim. rdwalshv is finishing up the Lost Woods here, getting his Moon Pearl. And let's see where our runners decide to go. Kappa's heading up towards the castle.
Yup, this is an Aghanim play. Either that or he's going to do Dark Cross, which I would probably do first, but the fact that he's doing this now suggests that it's going to be Dark Cross then Aghanim because he can put them back to back.
Oh, here we go. rdwalshv is heading down. He might do Agina. Oh, we're getting a mushroom play. Okay, check your fetch quest. Let's see what the mushroom
I forgot we had the mushroom. Yeah, the mushroom could be something. That's very true. And Kappa getting his bottle from the uncle area, the start of Escape. And he's going to have to route Sick Kid back in now.
Sick Kid wasn't anything, so...
He'll have to route in, though, because he probably wants to verify that before going to
right.
Aghanim. But at the same time, he might just stay here and he might do Aghanim while he's here. We'll see what he decides to do.
So Mushroom is nothing. And Kappa is going to do front of escape first.
Makes sense. Then take
Which is good. He's going to get a sword. He's going to get a red cane, which is probably a required item.
We have to remember that for Kappa, there's no logic pointing to Aghanim yet, because he doesn't have a cape, and he only found one sword upgrade. So the second sword upgrade, which is not this chest, but the next chest, that will tell him that this could be an Aghanim seed.
Now, this is interesting. We got the red cane from the first chest in the front of escape. If that sword is required for logic, that means there has to be a small key in the Dark Cross.
Interesting.
Because otherwise you could key lock yourself by spending the first key from that guard that you kill and just heading to the back.
Well, we'll get to Dark Cross sooner or later, and we'll see that. I'm sure Kappa will check that before he leaves here. He is finding that Temper Sword now, and he must now be trying to figure out what to do here. We are going to get our Agina check now, where Walsh did go back from the Witch. Let's see if anything is in here.
Oh.
It is a silver arrows. That is nice to have, but that is only the second bow upgrade. We already have one that is not progression. Therefore, I think we can say it's an Aghanim seed.
Silver's early is pretty nice. Kappa setting up a death warp here.
Oh, could you just imagine if that was a fourth piece of heart in that chest? I've seen that happen.
Oh no!
It is. I knew it! I called it!
That feels bad. Every time. Every time. You know, it's a quarter heart, and I just feel like that happens more common than it really should.
It's funny to us, it's not to them.
rdwalshv, I think, is just going to make the Aga play. We'll see if Kappa decides to do the same, or if he's going to continue to the back of escape first.
Yeah, rdwalshv is definitely making the Aghanim play. Writing's on the wall for him. Kappa will make the play of Dark Cross. If there is progression back here, it may be delaying the inevitable, but at this point, it almost feels like it is inevitable.
Already putting silvers to use, though. It's really nice here in Aga Tower.
It is. You don't usually have them going through Aghanim's Tower.
You know, it's one of those things that I'm surprised the programmers even decided to handle.
Well, the reason was the programmers even had it there in the first place was because it was meant to be a nice thing to have after defeating everything else in the game. It was meant to be a last item that you get in the game before going to Turtle Rock to make Turtle Rock easier and then make Gan's Tower easier. Vitreous was locked it.
I didn't see the item that Kappa just picked up.
I didn't either.
Missed it. But it wasn't a small key, so... Huh. Heart piece.
That means he that the other key has to be located in the back of escape.
Right, I'm just trying to think if that's okay by logic. Because I guess you could steal key, you can go to the back, you have the lantern, so it's not necessarily prevented. Okay, maybe it's fine, and the sword is part of the progression. Anyway, this is an Aga required seed, so it doesn't matter. What?
100%. And those silvers would be good against these red guards, but if he wanted to use it, but he didn't have to kill that second one. So no surprise on the two items in Aghanim's Tower. They both have to be keys. There are no other actual items. The difference is when you get to a key sanity, a full key sanity mode, and all the keys are shuffled around, then those two Castle Tower keys can be anywhere in the world, as long as they're not blocked by having to go through Aghanim's Tower.
So in terms of progression after killing Aga, we have an item on Pyramid, but then we just have Pod. And there's a chance, I mean, we have the bow, so they can do a lot of Pod. There's 5 items total on Pod. They're going to be able to get at least 4 of those items. But
odds are it's in Pod.
What's that?
Odds are it's in Pod. And by the way, get your blue guesses, everyone in chat.
Well, so far we got one. Aga not playing nice today. The first shot he does after lightning and from the beginning is always a fireball. The rest are blue balls. Well, they can be anyway. And in this case,
Yeah.
they are. I'm
All
sorry.
3 of them. 3 is looking like a bad guess today. Yeah, it's a 50-50 chance between a regular orb and the blue ball for those 3 shots. But the first one, as you said, is always a fireball, and then there's lightning after every 4 shot.
Now, thankfully, this is standard between the runners. It's part of the seed. So Kappa will have the same amount of blue balls as rdwalshv is currently getting, which we're up to 4, I believe.
4 blue balls.
Okay, I guess calm down a little bit.
Can still fire 3 more and make it a 7, but that's about as high as we can go now.
I had a lot of low guesses in chat, too.
Usually it is a low number. It's very
there
rare
you
that it
go.
goes to high number.
P Lifer, GG's. You guessed 4, and it was 4.
So what's going to be on the pyramid? We had to go through Aghanim to get here, so what's going to be over here? And we have no
Ideally,
Go ahead.
the runners want to get Hammer. Oh, there's an ice rod, though.
At least we don't have to look for that.
Oh, no!
Well...
Turtle Rock is a pendant. You do not want to see an ice rod yet.
In terms of other pendants, by the way, we noticed, I didn't catch which one was green, but we noticed that Misery Mire was a pendant, and I noticed that Swamp Palace, also a dungeon you don't want to see as a pendant.
Well, this is gonna... Our runners have some interesting choices in front of them. What are they gonna clear, especially with Swamp and Turtle Rock being pendants? Now, in terms of what they need in order to beat the game, we know they need a flute. Oh, no, because Meyer, you said, was a pendant, didn't you?
It is,
So
yeah.
they need Hammer, they need Mitts. That's always required. And they're eventually going to need Hookshot. That might be it.
We'll have to see how it plays out. And it looks like Swamp Palace was the green pendant, which means that is a 7-item Swamp Palace.
Aside from killing Agate, this could potentially be a fast seed. But again, with Hookshot being hidden somewhere, it could troll their runner still. We're only 25 minutes in. We have plenty of items we need to get. They need Desert Entry. That is a good point. So that would mean either Book or Flute and Mirror. And Mitts, of course.
Yeah, Mitts, of course. And Mitts and Titan Mitts are one of those things you can easily take for granted because it's easy to forget sometimes when you're wandering around the world. Oh yeah, I can't lift that rock yet. I can't go that way yet. I've made that mistake numerous times.
I love going into Thieves without having a glove yet. That throws people off because you get down to the basement and like, whoops. But you can still get through it. It's still possible.
Just a different route.
Yeah. That is true. Well, we know they're going to get boots because it leads to one of their gloves.
Yeah, they have to have the boots before they can even get to Turtle Rock anyway. So as long as we don't see any other glove upgrades yet, that's probably good news. But at the same time, they're going to have to get one sooner. They're not going to be able to do other parts of the Dark World without the hammer.
Who are we kidding? That glove is their go mode.
Yeah, probably.
Actually, that would be a good go mode item.
That'd be an interesting go mode, yeah. rdwalshv getting bullied by the statue shooting as he's trying to carry a bomb. Gonna head upstairs. At least 4 of the first 6 chests in Palace Darkness, I believe the number is, have to be small keys. That is not a small key. That is a compass. So we're gonna get to see probably at least a key in the next chest here, I'm guessing. There it is.
So they're hoping for Hammer. Hammer would let them beat this dungeon. It is a crystal dungeon. That would be nice. However, they might also see something like Hookshot plus either a glove or flippers in order to get over to the left-hand side. Although, how nice would it be if in this dungeon is Hookshot and Boots?
Hookshot and Boots would be a nice dungeon. We've had dungeons like that before.
We'll see. There's 5 total items here. They can get a potential 4, depending on if there's an item on Helma.
Like the other racers came off of today, I think we had, I don't want to say which dungeon, but we had one dungeon that doesn't have a lot of items that actually had 2 useful items. I think that was our progression.
So rdwalshv taking a death warp because he has no mirror. I'm going to continue to the back where all the good items are, hopefully. There's no way to check catfish without a glove. So we're just sort of waiting. Pod has to have the progression because we've seen everything else in the game so far.
I actually forgot you have to have a glove for catfish. I'm just used to having one by this point.
Right. It's very odd to have such a late glove.
Yeah.
Late, I say 30 minutes in. I mean, relatively speaking, late.
Yeah, for a glove, 30 minutes is late. It's probably here in Palace Structure somewhere. If it isn't, then it's going to be a good question as to where it is, because they can't really get anywhere else in the Dark World. There has to be other progression if the glove is not in here.
All right, there's one item. It was just bombs. Get some rupees here and the U.
There's
boots. Oh my gosh.
Well,
that's a glove.
That unlocks the inside that portion of Desert Palace, but now we just have to get in.
That is an early boot.
There's
a glove. Oh my gosh.
It had to be here, I thought.
So that's a glove. The boots unlock the second glove, so they have mitts now.
Yeah, they have access to Titan's mitts.
Well, that's one way to get over to the Village of Outcast area. So, agate required in order to go to Pod to get a glove and boots.
So it's interesting that we just went from no glove to 2 glove in about 30 seconds.
The world is their oyster.
It is at this point. And it had to go through Aghanim.
So we'll have most of the western area of Dark World. They could potentially head up to Death Mountain. Although you can't really do much without Mirror or Hookshot. It's still 2 items. They could also end up doing stuff like the Blacksmith Chain. Technically, that's in logic, even without Mirror.
So rdwalshv not going to waste any time. He's going to go ahead and upgrade his carrying power at this point.
Doesn't even use the Power Glove, just instant Titan's mitts.
The Power Glove is merely an NES accessory.
That's right. All right, Kappa's finishing up Pod here. And I imagine we'll also be going right over to the library.
He's either going to go to Skull Woods or Thieves Town at this point. rdwalshv, that is, because he's heading over to the Dark World in that area, and he is going to Skull Woods, it looks like. He does have the Fire Rod, and we do know that it is a crystal, so not a bad idea. We don't have the book, so he's not going to be able to mirror and do pedestal checks because he doesn't have a mirror anyway, unless both show up here, but at least we'll get this dungeon out of the way.
Kappa is checking bonk rocks for us. rdwalshv actually did the southern route over to the library, so we didn't see this check.
Yep, we haven't seen it yet. We will sooner or later when he goes back to Sanctuary. It is just a boomerang, though. And there's the big key. So the big chest is already in logic for Skull Woods before we even get to Mothula.
rdwalshv is going to continue to the back of Skull Woods, going to finish off Mothula for us. There is a total of 2 items in Skull Woods, and as you mentioned, we got the big key already, so that would be all the chests are possible. We'll just have to see which 2 have the items.
Kappa also wasting no time upgrading to his Titan's mitts. And by the way, it's worth knowing as well that because we had to defeat Aghanim to get to further progression, that means that the overworld has changed. There are now more guards around Hyrule. You notice the guards inside Kakariko trying to hunt down Link. There's red guards in the overworld. It's a bit harder to go through the overworld now than it was before you killed Aghanim. rdwalshv taking the Death Warp.
So far, our runners are pretty much neck and neck here. The only real difference is that rdwalshv went over to Agina and got silvers for his efforts. So that's actually a pretty good find. Otherwise, they're right next to each other for the most part. Maybe half a dungeon separating them.
The only difference is that silver arrows, I think, in terms of their inventories right now, I don't see a lot of other differences here. So that is going to be something that if Kappa doesn't get, that will put him at a disadvantage in fights like Vitreous, for example. You'll see why later in that case.
If they have to do Vitreous, they have other problems with this seed.
Yeah. If they have to do Vitreous, there are going to be other problems. That would be what I'm getting at there. If it turns out we have to do that, there's a problem.
All right, with Tempered, Mathia only takes 4 swings, but of course, if you hit him into the spikes, he doesn't take any damage. So you sort of have to hope he's not against that back wall there.
So he's trying to stay in that safe zone back there. Semi-immortal he is. There it is.
There's our first item, a red rupee.
Of course, chat is already calling for a ped seed.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible given what the pendants are. So, from what we know, the required items are hammer and hookshot. That's, as far as we know, all they need. Oh, and some way to get into deserts. So that's either flute or book. So that's it.
Yeah, let's cover what items, all the other items that could otherwise be needed to complete these dungeons. We can't... Items that cannot be on the pedestal. Hookshot is... well, I don't know if the hookshot's actually needed for Turtle Rock, or so I won't say that that's needed for... That would block Turtle Rock, but let's look at the other items here. All 3 medallions cannot be pedestal items. Both... Well, at least 2 of them anyway. The third one, useless, can be, but the ones needed to enter either dungeon, they can't be.
Right.
Those are impossible. The flippers, they are impossible because you need to get to Swamp Palace. The hammer, well, odds are very low. I don't know if it could ever be on the pedestal.
Well, yeah, it can't with this because of Turtle Rock.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay.
And the Swamp.
Yeah. The flute you need to use to get into Misery Mire, so that can't be on pedestal. The options really are low. The mirror... No, you need it for Swamp Palace. The mirror you need for Swamp Palace. So that's not an option. The book you need to get into. You could see the book there possibly. That's the only thing I can imagine that could be on the pedestal at this point.
Right, but if you can get... Oh, wait. No, because if you have flute to get to Mire and mirror to get into Swamp, then you don't need book.
No, you wouldn't need the book. So it depends on how on whether you find those other items and whether you take the gamble on the pedestal being one of the 2 items that you actually need, whether you get that, whatever other item is there.
Anyway, speaking of required items, we just got hookshot.
We did, so that's not on the pedestal.
So in terms of what they need is hammer. That hammer, always elusive. This is actually turning out to be a pretty ridiculous seed.
Yes. Not a fun one.
I don't know. Our runners might be having some fun. They did have to kill Aga after all.
Okay, it's fun for us. Maybe not for them.
And thankfully, this time, Thieves is a crystal dungeon, so they can full clear it, not have to worry about it. However, without Hammer, you could potentially orphan an item.
There is that potential, but with the number of items they actually need, they might be willing to take that gamble. There's a map. That's one item that's in the back. So you know there's at least 2 items in the back. Now I think the first chest had an item in it. There's another item. And there's the hook shot for Kappa now. And there's another item. So there's actually, I think, only 1 item. That was the big key in the first chest then.
Yeah.
So we have 2 items that have to be in the back at this point.
All right, Kappa has just finished Skull Woods. Gonna continue probably over to Thieves. Looks like that's the case. rdwalshv heading to the back of Thieves. As you mentioned, there's 2 items here to get still. We are looking for Hammer and Desert access for our Go mode. Pet is dead, but Pyramid Fairy might not be.
And you mentioned that we need Hammer and Desert access for Go mode. There might be people asking, what about the mirror for Tower of Hera? Keep in mind, you can access it from East Death Mountain since we have the hook shot. Once we have the hammer to pound the pegs out of the way at the top of the East Death Mountain, we can get to Tower of Hera but I guess the better way to put it is you probably need the mirror to. That isn't the Light World. Never mind. So you'll be able to get over there from Death Mountain in that case. There's our 3rd item for Thieves Town. Just more money.
Because of Desert. No, if you get, it's not fully dead. You could get Book for Desert. You could get a mirror to do Hera. And then you have to go pick up your hammer from Pyramid Fairy.
I'm just trying to think about this here.
I'm not saying it's likely, but you don't want to forget anything when you're running a seed because the unlikely could potentially happen.
I just know Pyramid Fairy and Pedestal is pretty much impossible at this point, so you can't have both for sure. But even both of them seem like they almost seem impossible at this point, even for one of those to be true.
Honestly, I'm just hoping for some trolls. I want to see something like Hammer in First Chest Swamp because that's going to take forever.
Hammer could be a Pyramid Fairy. That is possible.
So we did not get a small key from rdwalshv. Checked all of the chests, did not get a small key. That means the small key is in the big chest, so he is not orphaning an item. So that's actually really good for our runners. They'll be able to clear this dungeon, get all the items, and not have to worry about it later.
And Blind talking about percussion masters drumming up audiences.
rdwalshv cutting a little close there, down to 2 hearts, but still finishes off Blind. Nothing of progression here, but we're down to like 2 items, so it's not really surprising.
Yeah, we're gonna have a hard time finding progression at this point. The exception is progression you probably don't want to see, which is progression independent dungeons to look for the progression you want to see.
Right. So at this point, I believe they've done all the dungeons they could potentially do within logic. And I don't... Actually, we could see a run over to ice. However, we can only do half of the chests in ice because hammer's a required item there.
We would also have to fake flipper over to ice.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's not really likely, but it's something they could opt to do. More than likely, the best place to go is up at Death Mountain with how many chests are up there thanks to the hookshot.
I think progression of some form, even if it's to a pendant dungeon, progression I think has to be on Death Mountain now. The Smith Chain is available too. We have to remember the Smith Chain.
Yeah, that's so annoying without mirror though. You have to do a save and quit, drag the dwarf all the way back to his home.
Here we're gonna get digging game in the meantime. So a random number of digs 1 to 30. Never mind. It was 1. It was 1. There you go.
Guess 1 and you'll win. Wow, what a seed. So just as a reminder, our runners are tied. Whoever wins this race gets to move forward here. They're pretty much half a dungeon apart from each other. But we got to see some divergence to catch up that gap. So the big question is this hype cave actually hype?
Well, I tend to call it the Cave of Disappointment for a reason.
It really does feel that way.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 it's the Cave of Disappointment, so that's just what I call it now. Unless we have a bad mini Moldorm Cave, then I'll risk calling it Hype Cave. So let's see which it is today, though. And there's a full heart container. What else is in here? We have a full heart container, a piece of heart. Can we just call it life? I'm going to rename it Life Cave today.
They were all there the whole time.
3 1/4 hearts in that cave today. But still, in theory, the Cave of Disappointment, because we had all the good items in Mini Moldorm Cave.
All right, rdwalshv heading over to King's Tomb. We might see a play for Death Mountain next. First stake for Kappa is bombs. He's going to head over to Hype Cave. You can see how close our runners are right at this moment.
Yeah. Not too far apart at all. The difference will be the silver arrows when it comes down to the Gan fight, barring any other divergence, of course.
Oh, back of escape. That's right. We haven't seen this. The late glove.
44 minutes in, we still haven't seen it. Very surprising.
So there is... Oh, there was a map. There's a small key. And just another heart.
So that's what the third item was. And Kappa is about to be collecting his additional inventory of health.
All right, so what's the play? I really think Death Mountain is the play.
It pretty much all I can think of at this point. That or the Smith chain again. We can
actually Catfish. Catfish is in logic as well.
Yeah, Catfish, the Smith, taking the Smith home, getting the purple chest to get Gary. Those are options.
And all of Death Mountain for the most part, except for Hera.
And that's why Death Mountain is the better play at this point. But I have seen the blacksmith be the key before. And you can say that for any location, honestly.
Ice Cave, I think, had a heart container. And did we mention Zora? Because I don't think either of our runners have went to Zora.
No, they haven't had money for Zora. In fact, Kappa is still sitting on 261 rupees. Whereas rdwalshv, having purchased access to the digging game, is still 86 rupees short. rdwalshv is going into Lumberjack. There must have been something at Lumberjack then.
Well, he didn't.
Or he's taking.
He actually saved.
Oh, he's taking the gamble. He's taking the gamble. It's just a heart container. He'll take it.
And just like that, our runners have switched positioning. Kappa just slightly ahead.
All it takes is one check.
There's actually a good chance, depending on what the go mode happens to be, that Kappa never gets silvers from Agena. He might not need to go over there.
He will need to go over there for Desert Palace, but if he gets there without having gone to Agena first, then yeah, he won't be doing it then.
So, in general, the way the randomizer works, it ensures that you're able to beat the game itself without having any knowledge of glitches. It's as if you're playing the game for the first time. You're able to just follow the items and play through the game and beat things just using the items for their intended usage. Now, when we say something like breaking the logic or going outside of it, something like that, it just means our runners are doing a sequence break. They're doing some unintended minor glitch, like doing a fake flipper where you're in the water swimming, but you don't have the flipper item yet. So there's a few minor glitches like that. So the randomizer doesn't expect you to know how to do that, but you can. You might get lucky and find something good.
There is one thing in play in there's the flippers, by the way, you were just talking about. There is one thing in play in this format with the Logical, which I'll get to in a second after we see what these other items are in Paradox Cave, because I want to spend a little time explaining that here. So we're going to see what these 5 items are in Paradox Cave. We have the big 20. We have another big 20. Going to the other 3 chests, we have another big 20. This seed brought to you by Red Things. There was a 50, and there was a bottle of blue goo as well. So we did have a little bit of color there at the end.
RD Walsh finally has enough money for Zora, and also Flippers is not the thing you want to see when you only need Hammer and Desert Access.
Yeah, exactly. That leads to Swamp Palace thinking immediately. But you still need the mirror for that, so it's not a big deal. Unless Zora gives you the mirror. Anyway, what I was going to talk about with the logic, there is a difference with the logic in play here, as we find there's a big 20 on the floating island. The difference in logic here is that there are some rooms that normally would be locked by the lamp, but we are playing with advanced logic, and those rooms have a torch in them. You can use the fire rod to light that torch without having the lamp, and it's still considered in logic for the advanced logic. So if you were playing this for the first time, you'd want to play with the regular logic where the lamp is required and you're able to see everything because you don't know where the torches are. You said Flippers, I said mirror, and they both just showed up.
Wow. Speaking of items you don't want to see, again, now, mirror isn't too bad because ultimately it gets them up to Hera. And I did mention before that you could get to Hera without Hammer, so there you go. Mirror is slightly better, but it does unlock a whole bunch more checks for our runner to do.
Yeah, the mirror makes the Smith chain a lot more palpable, I'll just say that. And the reason I say that is because you can take advantage, and I'll talk about it in a second if they go to do the Smith chain, but there is a glitch we can take advantage of there that I'll talk about momentarily if we get there. In the meantime, we're finding powder and we're finding 10 arrows. So that's called Super Bunny Cave. You can actually get those items in bunny form if you find yourself in a situation where you still don't have a moon pearl. You're trying to at least find some items. That's a place you can get a couple items in bunny form. We haven't seen that used very often, but I did see it in one race myself earlier in this very tournament, so it does happen once in a while.
And there's Book. So that is our desert access. So we have desert access, we have Hera access. Could we have Hammer at Pyramid Fairy?
Oh, yes.
Just for the record, I did call it. If it happens.
I said it too. I said it earlier.
All right, Kappa's going to head into Hera. rdwalshv right there behind him, also heading into Hera. We're going to take a look at the Ether Tablet first because we got Book.
And we can collect it because we have the a good enough sword. So pray to the gods for Ether, and you get part of your life.
So at this point, Hammer is go mode. Once a runner picks up Hammer, you're probably going to see a rush to the end.
100%.
However, in terms of what they can do, there's a lot to check. I mean, we have half of ice. We have the Pyramid Fairy, as I mentioned. We're seeing Hera check now. There's 2 items here in Hera. We got desert. We could also see something like the first chest of swamp.
I saw that called already. So at least the rest of Swamp Palace doesn't matter. You just have to go in for one item if you think it's there. They could take that gamble.
Kappa's setting up a trick now to get into the pot, I believe. I don't know this particular setup, but there it is.
I've seen it a few times. You can glitch into that pot, and it is considered legal for this tournament because it is possible to legally fall into that same pot if you're on the 5th floor anyway, so it's considered legal for this tournament.
It's just a slightly faster way to get up top.
It is. And just to explain where you would fall into that same pot, in the 3 holes you see on top, the one at the very top is where you would fall into that same pot. And here we are in mold with everyone's favorite pet worm, Moldorm. rdwalshv slightly ahead coming into the fight. And both runners fall into the arena, and they start smacking the tail, trying to avoid being pushed off. Kappa gets a very quick kill, goes ahead on the kill. rdwalshv right behind. They are literally in step with each other. It's going to be unfortunate if the silver arrows come in to be the difference, but we'll see how the rest of the seed goes, and maybe it won't be.
So unfortunately, I believe there is an item in the basement, so we're going to have to see the cutscene.
I think so.
If they're going to even pick up that item.
I think so. We have a save and quit. We have rdwalshv going back in. This could be what Kappa needs. Or it could be his detriment. One or the other. Walsh sees the chest and is like, nope, going downstairs. So rdwalshv is going to set up for the coffee break. Reminder that we are sponsored by Death Mountain Coffee, good to the last kill.
All right, so we are getting the desert play from Kappa. This will unlock Pyramid Fairy. There's 2 items in desert itself. And I imagine he's going to pick up silvers. Unless he gets hammer in desert, he's probably going to head over to Agena and end up getting silvers over there. So that'll work out, actually.
He will pick up the silvers, and this is going to work out nicely for him because that'll put our runners back on even pegging. Given how close they were already, and the fact that rdwalshv had to walk over here, isolate the as an isolated check, that's actually going to put Kappa in a little bit of a better position where he might be slightly ahead. So this is going to probably be better routing for him.
So unfortunate for rdwalshv, it was just a blue rupee in the basement. So it looks like desert is the play.
And it was also apparently boots locked because we have a small key there. So item number 1 on the right side is a piece of heart, and that means unless I miss the big key in the first chest, the big key has to be here. Bingo.
All right, so we have one more item here in desert. We'll see if Kappa picks it up. It's the heart container, so that is it. No hammer here. In terms of where hammer could be, we still have ice. We have Zora. We have catfish. We have the blacksmith chain, plus the mirror checks like Graveyard Ledge and South of the Grove.
Speaking of, you didn't mention the Mire area, but I'm thinking about this, the fact that they still have not seen any of the coins, any of the pendants. The longer this goes on, the better our runners are going to feel, because that will mean that the hammer is not hiding somewhere in Misery Mire somewhere. And right. We already know it's not in Turtle Rock, so as long as the coins don't show up, that's 2 dungeons we don't have to check today. Ice Palace, again, can still be there, as you said, and we still have... I think we still have finished up Palace of Darkness, but we need the hammer to finish that, so that's not even on the table because we cleaned out everything else. So it could be in Swamp Palace first chest, could be Pyramid Fairy. This could be why Kappa and rdwalshv are both hurrying to do this, because they're both picking Pyramid Fairy. Let's just hope the Kappa checks the silver arrows. If he doesn't get those, that may give him a disadvantage later on.
I mean, I would say I can't imagine him skipping it. However, he has skipped something like the basement of Hera, so he might be feeling slightly behind, and it's just making gambles to sort of try to track down that hammer. Yeah,
and the problem with making gambles is sometimes you could be in the lead when you make that gamble, hypothetically, and then you lose because of that gamble. So it's really a question of, are you really comfortable losing that gamble if you make it? Is what it sometimes comes down to. Great fight of Lambolas by Kappa, and that is just the compass. But it does give him the second red crystal. Doesn't look red, but it is red. Trust me on that. And that will give him access to the Pyramid Fairy. And two items are located there. One of them could be the hammer.
And I see a quip of bombs, so it looks like he is going to go visit Agena, which means he'll pick up silver. There you go. Kappa heading over.
There it is.
I get silvers here. Already walks in the back of desert. He'll quickly be beating this dungeon as well. So you can see how close our runners are right now. It's up to whoever can find that hammer first.
I'm doing a further look at the inventory here. They don't have the flute, so even if they get the coins, they still can't go to Myra without the flute. So they're probably not even looking at Misery Myra as a possibility for this seed.
Imagine if it is, though. The dream.
If it is, that would be very, very unusual at this point. It would involve if I can say this, the Pyramid Fairy from Hell.
My dream is that we see something like Flute in the first chest of Swamp with Hammer being over inside of Meyer. That's what I want to see. Oh, and we do need a medallion, of course, but
yeah,
you know,
we need
just
a
throw
medallion
that in somewhere.
And we know that the medallion in question cannot be in Turtle Rock or inside the rest of Swamp Palace. We know that. So the locations are dwindling. I think the hammer's got to be coming sometime, probably the next 5 minutes or so.
So just as a reminder, Kappa having to take the Village of Outcast portal here because he has no hammer, and you don't really want to walk the long way from the pyramid. So it's weird that he has to take the long route just to check that Pyramid Fairy. But thankfully, since we did... Oh, and he might as well do blacksmith.
He's doing the blacksmith. That's what he's doing first.
But thankfully, even if Hammer is at Pyramid Fairy, because they killed Aga earlier to get their Dark World access, you can easily do that and not have to do any shenanigans with the bomb.
And there have been times, even without the Aghanim required for Dark World access, even without that, there have been times where you might have to actually go to the go through Aghanim just to get access to Pyramid Fairy, and that is the dream scenario where the hammer is at Pyramid Fairy, and you could otherwise do all of the Dark World except for that hammer at Pyramid Fairy.
All right, so here's the big play. rdwalshv looks like he's heading over to, I'm guessing...
There it is!
Hammer at the bat! Oh my!
That is going to give Kappa a distinctive advantage, as at about 59 minutes and 44 seconds, Kappa is in go mode.
rdwalshv looks like heading over to the graveyard ledge check. I mean, this was the play. It was one of the runners was making the correct call. Kappa made the right call with that powder, no less.
Now, Walsh will probably get over there in the next 5 minutes himself, because locations he can check are dwindling. There's not a lot left, I think. So, but it will put him a few minutes behind, and with runners of this caliber, even being 30 seconds behind can be a detriment.
Oh no, and a medallion for rdwalshv.
Oh,
not what you want to see.
The rabbit hole is opening. Now, you might be wondering why Kappa had to go and take the dwarf home. The reason is because the dwarf keeps following you. You have to take the dwarf home, and you have to go back and get your item from him for the 10 rupee cost. If you don't do that, you're unable to continue with... because what the vanilla game does, for those who are not familiar, he takes your sword and tempers it for you, and that's how you get your tempered sword. So when you leave after taking the blacksmith home, you're leaving without your sword, basically. You have to go back, you have to collect the item from him to be able to use your sword again.
So we have 2 dungeons left. Kappa is going to just probably go mode this item. There's nothing he really needs. He has silvers, he has tempered, he has blue tunic and 13 hearts. Unless I'm forgetting anything. Yeah, okay, he doesn't need any.
Yeah, he's go, I think. Well, there's our gold sword.
Catfish having our butter sword.
Not what rdwalshv wants to see at this point. That's not the weapon he wanted. He's gonna go pay King Zora. And that was a health refill for a heart piece for rdwalshv, it looks like. It's amazing how just one play can really change the race. This was looking like a really, really close race. If both runners kept on the same path and made the same decision, it would have been one of those amazing races. But now it's turning into a situation where Kappa is definitively in go mode. His lead is just widening at this point. Every step he gets to take, and every step that rdwalshv does not go to the... at least look at the blacksmith chain where we go to Magic Bat where the hammer was located. He has to get to Magic Bat. Until he gets there.
And even still, that's a hard call to make. When you have to mirror to check out the Magic Bat, like that's something you don't really see very often.
No, you don't see that very often. It just
looks like rdwalshv might be making the ice play. And again, oh, he hasn't done the flipper checks. Okay.
No, he didn't go to Hoa yet, it looks like. Kappa goes straight down after that block. The block falls down. He lands on top of it. He smashes the skull. And there you go.
Ice is such a fast dungeon when you can get the go mode. It's so nice.
And there we go. And hello, Cold Stare. Come out and play with us. Going with a health refill, not taking any chances. They didn't stay corralled, but still a very nice fight. Oh, single green rupee. Don't spend it all in one place.
We were looking for that.
Yeah, he only has 736 other ones.
So rdwalshv is deciding to make the dream of hoping hammer is in ice, and honestly, it's a good call to hope for it and hope that your opponent doesn't do it. However, we already know where hammer is, unfortunately.
And this means he's going to be doing a full clear of Ice Palace, which is going to put him even further behind.
No flute, so Kappa does have to walk the long way back up the pod.
It's kind of strange that we're not going to see the flute today.
Well, it might pop up in Ganon's tower. We'll see.
You mean Ganon plays flute music?
I guess. Saving it for later.
Yeah.
So this was a required double dip dungeon of pod. You had to go in here to get your boots and a glove, and to ultimately get your hammer to come back. And I think this is actually the only dungeon our runners are going to end up double dipping here. Well, rdwalshv will double dip ice, but it wasn't required by logic.
By logic, yeah. So this is going to be Kappa's 7th crystal, and he is working his way back to Helmisar King right now. There are a few dark rooms here, so you do need to have either the fire rod, and actually you need the lamp to get to the last room here, because that doesn't have torches. So by logic, the lamp is needed just to do this. We had the lamp very early, first 3 or 4 minutes or so, locating Kakariko, so no problem with that.
So just as a reminder, rdwalshv is only able to check half the chest here without hammer. This is a small key, so he should be able to get all of the non-hammer lock chests here. Cap is making quick work of the rest of the pod here.
And there we go. Turtles are down. That can be a hard room without the lamp. Or with any kind of fire source. And hello, Turtles. Goodbye, Turtles. And it is now time for everyone's favorite king, the Helmisar King. As we're going to convince him to shed his unnecessary mask and show his face to the world. He is not happy about it and is going to try to kill us with a spiky tail. We respond by, nope, he's not going to get the silvers. I was just going to thwart him to death. So that means that Helmusar King is now going to implode. We're going to get our map.
I think it's time.
It's time, ladies and gentlemen. Get your guesses in the chat for the Ganon's Tower Big Key guessing game. We have 22 chests in Ganon's Tower that can possibly have the big key needed to get upstairs to the third floor and up to Aghanim at the top before we can finish the game. So get your guesses in chat as to which of those 22 chests that big key is in. Please no numbers over 22, no 0, no negative numbers, no fractions or decimals, please. Jet, where do you think it is?
You know, given the way the seed is, I'm going to say it's actually on the right-hand side. I'm going to pick... See, it's a hard number. I'm just going to say it's number 5. But specifically on the right-hand side, that's my guess.
I always say 11 because, well, always. And back when I started doing that around, I don't know if it was spring or fall 2018, somewhere in that range, it was always in Rando Room because that I would put that in because the routing for right side was not the meta at the time. Some runners did it, but it wasn't the meta. And now it seems to be in Stelfo's room, last chest in Stelfo's room most of the time, or Compass room on Dark Magician strategy. But I always usually put that in Rando Room.
I feel like Rando Room's a good guess.
And since you said right side, what number would you give that?
Well, 5.
5. Okay, sorry, I didn't know.
I'm hoping for a small key in the Room of Hope. But I haven't seen the big key over there very often. That's why I'm sort of hoping for that.
rdwalshv is now heading in the right direction, unable to finish in Ice Palace. He's going to have the frog behind him. He's going to realize, okay, I need to get rid of this frog now. After he goes to Magic Bat, will he do that first, or will he do the frog first? He's going to do the frog first, it looks like.
See, this is where it's a hard call. If you decide to do the mirror to take a look at Magic Bat, that means you're putting away the South of Grove and Bombo's check. So it's really hard to say, do you want to do those checks versus the powder?
He will probably do it.
Sort of see.
He'll probably do it now, and then he knows he can go back to the other location afterwards. And that's exactly what he's doing. He knows he can go back to the top and come back to the Dark World if he has to.
Right. Might as well get it now because you can just do a quick run.
That's right.
So rdwalshv about to get his go mode item. Kappa just entered the palace. Do we need to stop the bot or?
I was just doing that. Meanwhile, I shall curse you by making you unable to pound things. At 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 35 seconds, rdwalshv is in go mode.
The first chest was the.
Was it really number 1? I didn't see it.
Yes.
Oh boy.
This seed, we are getting almost a sub 1. Well, this is going to be about a 120 seed for Kappa here. rdwalshv is in go mode. It looks like he's going to head over to, I assume, Ice first.
So, and by the way, we should give a shout out since we do have our bot in chat managing this for us now. Forever Dog is the winner. You were correctly on the guess of first one to guess it, and you get the 17 points on our leaderboard for that. Congratulations. Do we have another prize for him, Jeff?
A pat on the back.
Excellent.
All right, Kappa heading upstairs. He's about to hit the gauntlet section where you have to kill all the enemies before progressing. rdwalshv just entering Ice. He'll be able to go mode this dungeon, especially because he was already here, so there's nothing else to get.
Yeah, he's probably not happy they made the decision to come in here first, but you can't blame him for making the gamble. Yeah, you're looking for one item. You have to guess where one item is. If you really think it's in that location, you're going to do what you need to go there. So while we're watching the Lambolas fight here, from the sounds of it, we're going to just quickly mention a couple other races coming up as the evening goes on here. We're about the 9 o'clock hour right now Eastern time as we do this live on January 2nd, and we are looking very shortly at Sabotender versus Andy starting on the main Speed Gaming channel. Amazing Ampharos versus Doomtap on Speed Gaming 4. Those will be coming up on those channels after this race. Later on this channel, actually, I think we're down on this channel for the night. There'll be another race later, but that'll be the last race on this channel, the one that we're seeing right now.
All right, Kappa's nearly upstairs here. He has the torches to light, both down here and upstairs. And we have the Moldorm 2 fight.
And the last
it is a neat touch from the programmers to actually put the refights in this game, because by the time you come back to this, you have silvers, you might have a butter sword. It just shows you how much more powerful you are when you have to refight all of these bosses.
And this kind of a theme with a lot of later Zelda games where you have to end up refighting bosses. It's like the boss rush is kind of like a theme in some of the games now, that you, not just Zelda games, but other games too. You have to go back and do all the bosses as a boss rush in order to finish the game. You have to prove that you're strong and that you can handle all of them at once. And for some of these bosses in some of these games, you're lucky just being able to survive those bosses.
I have to say, Moldorm still proves that he's difficult.
Yep, he does.
But here we go. Kappa heading up to Aga 2. rdwalshv making very quick work of Cold Stare here. He's just one more dungeon to go. It's a very quick dungeon with Pod. So this is it. We're coming down to the last 10 minutes of the race here.
And welcome to Agonometry class, ladies and gentlemen. Agonometry 101. 3 orbs are going to be fired at you. You have to hit as many back as you can. Kappa only gets 1. Sometimes you may get a blue ball coming out of him, which we're probably going to here. There it is. But I think he got the 2 hits he could. And the reason we knew that was a blue ball is because I suspect that was a blue ball is because we had him earlier, but I don't think it matters on that because the third one was not a blue ball. So I think we're at 1-2-1. That count is 1, so I think it was a 1-2-1-1 so far.
Yeah, this is not a nice pattern either, but he pulls it off. Well done for Kappa. rdwalshv about to head over to Pod.
Meanwhile, for Kappa, he's about to handle the Big Pig, who apparently is also a bat. So Ganon, being such a ham, is going to have some fun things to say, but first he's going to crash into the pyramid. Ganon sometimes likes to regale us with some trivia. Sometimes he likes to sing. Sometimes he likes
to...
trivia.
That's my favorite.
Sometimes he likes to complain that he's hungry like he did earlier today. What is he going to do today? Today he's going to say something about conquering the light world and holding a parade. Okay.
So, given Kappa has tempered, he's going to require 12 slashes per phase for phase 1 and 2 here. Phase 1 with the spinning trident, phase 2 with the bats that are going to be spinning around him. Spins, of course, count for double because it's like you're slashing with butter sword here. So Kappa has done phase 2 now. We'll be moving on to phase 3.
And phase 3 again likes to show how he can warp. That was already 2 extra warps. Sometimes he doesn't need to show off, just sometimes he does. No extra warps on those last 2. 1 more hit and we're going to be out of temper tantrum phase, and he's being extra warpy again. There it is. 3 extra warps.
So this is it. We got 4 silver shots away for Kappa here. Let's see if he gets the fire rod shot. Oh, just misses the torch glitch, but it's fine.
Getting 1 off before lighting the torches too. That's not bad. But yeah, the torch glitch not a major issue here. Tries to go for the triple, doesn't get it, but it's going to get the last hit here, and that is it.
So as long as Kappa makes it across the bridge, he is our winner and will be moving forward in this round of 64.
I don't know. That bridge is very dangerous.
I have seen people fall, so we're going to wait.
You can't fall.
And Kappa
yes, he made it across the bridge. So official SRL time, 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 18 seconds. And as you said, GG. And the princess is in another castle.
Well, specifically in Pod.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see if we can get some of our racers. Let's see if we get Kappa in here at least for an interview.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick peek at the SRL channel after the finish here, and there was a comment about the the location of the hammer. So that's probably going to be something we end up discussing here very shortly. But yeah, the hammer was indeed the main thing that made the difference in the seat. Kappa made the play, found it. rdwalshv did some other things and didn't find it at first, and that's what it came down to. It was a really, really close race. They were in step with each other pretty much almost the entire race, with the exception of the silver arrows, which Kappa got later than rdwalshv did. Other than that, they were very similar paths. They followed very similar steps, and it was close right up to the hammer. Really good race right up to the hammer.
So speaking of which, Kappa has joined us. GG's Kappa on that win.
GG's. Thank you, Hammer. Thank you, Bat.
Now that brings us to the first question that we have to ask here. As I think, hold on, before I ask you that question, I'm looking at the channel right now, and I think we can say now that rdwalshv has forfeit from the race, from what I can see. So yeah, we're going to see if rdwalshv wants to join us as well. But while we see if he wants to join us, Plasma Kappa, what was your reasoning behind the play to not just to the dwarf and not just where the hammer was, of course, but to that area in general ahead of the other locations?
Well, it's like, well, it's probably a nice spot. Already dove into Haga 1 once, so if I circle around, I can get Pyramid Fairy since I did Desert first. I can hook shot over to Graveyard Ledge and get Catfish and all those other things I haven't done yet.
So you were just thinking of being able to route it all in together, and just check it off. And it really worked out because of where that hammer was.
Yeah, it's like, okay, buddy, please get away from me now.
And by the way, rdwalshv has joined us. GG to you as well, sir.
Yo, thanks, and GG Kappa. That was a well-played seed.
GG.
rdwalshv. I have to say, you both were pretty much neck and neck. You were going back and forth with each other. Pretty much, I wouldn't say the same routing because you both diverged very early on, but then when you both had to do AGA, you converged again. And at that point, you were both following pretty much the same path. It really was that hammer play. And of course, rdwalshv, you already know, heading over to ice, unfortunately did not pan out for you. But what a play. It was coming down to one of you guys was making the right call.
Yeah, like the seed had been so linear to that point, and you know, like all credit to Kappa, like they're just a really, really good player, and I kind of feel that like I'm a little bit behind them in terms of execution. Like I just feel like the gameplay wasn't really there, so I kind of knew if it stayed linear and if it was in like one of these overall spots,
right?
Or well, like obviously not Graveyard Ledge, like I was, you know, still kind of sunk. So I just felt that I had to go to ice. It's been good to me this whole tournament. I've had like so many races with progression in Ice Palace. Maybe it was going to be Go Mode Hammer in there, but yeah, not meant to be today.
Well,
considering
my gauntlet, probably would have done better than me at that.
Yeah, you were actually keeping up very well, rdwalshv. I didn't notice any execution advantage at all. Even though I called races for both of you, and I know Kappa is really good execution wise, you're still pretty good yourself, rdwalshv. I couldn't really give an edge to either of you. You were both keeping us up with each other the entire way. One major difference was that Kappa didn't get the silver arrows right away, and we were discussing that could be a factor if the race stays. If they keep doing the same things, then they get to the GAN fight, and Kappa never went to get the silver arrows, but he eventually got the silver arrows after doing Desert, so that took that off the table. But you were in step the entire time with each other. Until the hammer play was made and you diverged on that, that's really what made the difference.
Although I have to say, Kappa, what a risk skipping the basement of Hera when there was an item down there.
I mean, yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't realize I hadn't gone to back of escape until I was in the Helm of Sorfi. It's like, oh, that's a thing that people do.
Oh, did you end up skipping? Because we did see it, but yeah. I could have sworn both of you ended up going. Oh, that's right, because we only saw the one heart. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think Kappa was the one who checked back of escape because he did that before going to Agnum.
No, I checked Dark Cross.
Oh yeah, I meant Dark Cross. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, back escape. I think he did skip that.
All right, so Kappa, you get to move forward to the
Yeah.
round of 32. rdwalshv, unfortunately, this is it for you, but still get to the top 64 runners, so well done. And even still, 1 win, no less.
Yeah, thank you. Like, yeah, I would have liked to have gotten that win, but I already beat Cap in the cross keys tourney, so he can have this one, and maybe I'll get the next one. But yeah, it's just really cool to be here at this stage, and even making it to brackets. 2 years ago I was just a viewer, kind of watching these and kind of learning the game, and a year ago I was losing the first cup of the Challenge Cup brackets. So yeah, getting here is a real cool hallmark for me, and yeah, just gotta keep grinding and maybe do better next year. We'll see.
And that's all you can do. Keep trying to get better and keep trying to and that's more of an execution thing than it is guessing where everything is. But keep working on the execution, keep getting better at that, and then when the time comes that you put the seed together correctly, you're the one who ends up winning. So that's really the way to do it. Keep practicing, keep getting better at it. And I agree with you on that. So you do, nonetheless, given that you made it to the top 64, as I said earlier at the start of this broadcast, any opponent in this top 64 is a fearsome opponent, yourself included, because you had to get through a lot of other people to get to this point. So it deserves no lack of praise to get to this point. So congratulations getting this far, and good luck in your future endeavors as well.
And yeah, thank you. Appreciate hearing that.
I do want to say to our viewers there, do make sure you give both of our racers here a follow as they continue playing the game. I imagine you guys will continue playing the game. So yeah, give them a follow and just watch more of this or whatever else you guys decide to play.
Indeed, and we'll get the runner links in chat. I don't know if they've been put in chat, but I'll ask our tracker to do an exclamation C if he can, and we'll get that in chat for you. Or exclamation R, sorry, exclamation R for the runners, exclamation C for himself. And there are the runners links in the chat. So Hitori7 and RD_Walsh are how to find each of them on their respective Twitch channels. And then our tracker himself was Nif Boy. We'll give him a shout out as well. He did a great job on the tracking today. Thank you for your help. And make sure to follow my co-commentator Jet082 as well.
Thank you. Yeah, make sure you give Cyclone a follow. And I do want to mention that there are plenty more Link to the Past races coming on tonight. As you mentioned earlier, I think you said the main Speed Gaming channel will have one of the races coming up soon. So
yeah, we're going to probably
stick around.
Yeah, I know we're going to be hosting into one of those races. I think the way the system works is we're going to probably host into Speed Gaming 4 unless that is done otherwise. But for those watching on our YouTube channel who may not understand what I'm talking about when I say that, all the races I'm talking about that we're talking about here are going to be on our playlist here on YouTube. So make sure you scan down our tournament playlist on YouTube, and you can find whatever races, whatever runners on that playlist interest you. There's hundreds of races in here, lots of content you can watch. If there's a runner you want to follow, just follow them all the way to their end of the tournament, and then pick another runner to follow and see how they did. You can literally do the playlist however you want to, or just go through it in order and spend about 6 or 7 weeks of edging watching races. Whatever you want to do. We hope that you are enjoying all the races on YouTube as well. And with that said, any last thoughts from you, Jet, before we do wrap it up here?
No, I think we said everything. GG's again to our winner, Kappa, as he moves forward, and thanks, Walsh, for joining us here.
And GG to both of our runners once again. Make sure you follow the runners. Make sure you watch all the rando that's happening here. There's a lot of it going to be coming up. We're only in the round of 64. It's going to get more and more exciting as we go to 32, 16, and so on. So make sure to come back and watch the other races. Until we see you again, I am Cyclone. I've been joined by... Well, I was going to let him say it, but I've been joined by Jet82.
It cut off, so I couldn't really tell, but
okay. And may not all your CT pet seats. Have yourself a great evening. Jet, take us out.
Have a good one.